Do you want to say it this week? Because you didn't get to say it last week.
God damn it.
Go ahead.
God damn it. Hello.
God damn it, hello.
Damn it, hello.
God damn it. Hello.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, Oliver. Hey, Brittany.
Hey.
Welcome to another episode of God Damnit, Hello, the 10th episode this week.
Yes.
And we've planned a 10-episode shebang.
Shebang.
We're doing the top 10 movies of the 2010s. So the top 10 movies of the last decade.
10 of the 10.
10 of the 10s for 10.
10, 10, 10. 10, 10 wins on Top 10 Picks 11 News.
Yep.
I would have loved to have done this back in January, but we make our top 10 movies of the year list. And then, things pile up and we were just getting this show off the ground at the time. So, but now during the quarantine saga, this seems like the right time to do this, especially since nothing else is happening.
Right.
At all.
And there are no new movies coming out that we could rate, even though Oliver and I did see Trolls World
sad
Tour.
news for you, Jeremy. We went and we caught it.
Oh, is that the movie you saw at the drive-in?
Yes.
What
Yes,
did you guys think of it?
It was colors.
To tell you the truth, I don't really know how the plot went.
Okay.
We took a little drive yesterday. We live in New York. And
Long Island specifically.
I've been itching so bad to go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that I miss the most. And obviously we can't do that right now because of coronavirus. But you can socially distance at a drive-in movie theater. The only issue is that
there are none in New York.
There are none in the state of New York. You have to drive all the way to Pennsylvania to find one. So we did that, and it was in Scranton, PA.
Scranton, PA.
The site of one of my favorite shows, The Office.
One of my favorite shows, The Office.
Jeremy, is it your favorite show, The Office?
It is a show I very much enjoy watching.
Well, we saw all the sites. First of all, very disappointing.
Yeah.
We couldn't find the building that The Office takes place in. Turns out it's actually in California.
Makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. But we did find the place that The Office was based off of, which was Pen Paper.
Yep. Which is in the intro. It's the big clock tower that they see is the pen paper tower.
We went there.
I was also really disappointed because the bar that they go to in the show, Poor Richard's Pub, where they did shoot some of the interiors for the show there, is a real place in Pennsylvania, Scranton, but it's inside of a bowling alley, which they never mention on the show. And because it's inside of a bowling alley, we could not go in it because bowling alleys are closed.
Right.
Damn.
But we did catch, there's a whole episode of The Office where Michael orders pizza for The Office, and there's a debate about whether or not they want pizza from Alfredo's or Alfredo's Pizza Cafe. And we located Alfredo's Pizza Cafe, not knowing if that was the shitty one or the good one. But Alfredo's Pizza Cafe was pretty shitty pizza.
Yep.
Well, the problem is that you went outside of New York and ate pizza.
Well, that was the thing, because then we watched the episode of the show, and Alfredo's Pizza Cafe, according to them, is the good one. It was cafeteria pizza.
Yes, it was disgusting. Sorry, Alfredo's Pizza Cafe, but it was no bueno.
It was very nice to see that The Office is a real thing, though.
Yes.
So,
Scranton was actually
if it wasn't closed down entirely, we would have had a great time.
It was fun. We had a good time while we were there. We got to see Lake Scranton, which was really beautiful and scenic. We went to the drive-in, which was the point of us going there. Oliver had never been to a drive-in movie theater before, so I felt very honored to take him for his first time.
Yeah, the drive-in was so cool. I mean, honestly, I don't give a fuck about Trolls 2 World Tour.
No, me neither.
I do.
Probably.
I thought we were
I was
going
to
to talk about
say
it.
Sad news.
We'll
talk about it in a minute. Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, I watched it on my own time.
It's streaming, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's streaming.
Well, before we can talk about it in a minute, but before we jump into that, because I have some other background things to say about that fucking movie. Seeing anything at the drive-in, I feel like would have been cool, especially since the drive-in was like on top of a mountain.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
It was awesome. And I think actually it was better that it was Trolls because Invisible Man was playing too, which we saw and didn't like, you know. But I was considering Invisible Man over Trolls 2, if only because I just am so disinterested in that movie. But just seeing the colors was kind of cool.
And the music, it was nice to not have to really pay attention. Oliver and I could just kind of like enjoy being together and, you know, having the movie on, like almost like in the background. Whereas like if we were forced to sit in a theater and watch it, we wouldn't be able to talk to each other or like make jokes and stuff. But it was nice to just sit in the car and kind of be in our own little world while this movie was on.
Sure.
All of this being said, having seen the movie, I cannot believe what a big stink this has caused for Universal for what a nothing fucking movie it is.
Crazy. Yeah, the movie is not worth a whole the fallout over it.
I saw it yesterday. I could not tell you anything about it. Pretty much, you know.
I mean, I understand the basic plot of the movie, but it's definitely not something it's about.
Right.
Like,
I don't think this was going to be a huge moneymaker, even though I guess Trolls 1 was a hit. So, you know, it really comes down to principle that they had the movie on the schedule and it was in the next coming weeks and they pulled it off. But at the same time, what the fuck were they supposed to do?
Right.
You know, but following the feud is my favorite thing because you're seeing these people in these very high positions in life get extremely petty. You know, you had, obviously there was the comment of, oh, we'll never forget this from the president of the North American Theater Association. But then the president of Regal came out, or Cinemark owns Regal, backing AMC. And they said in a letter to Universal, your people say nice things, but it means nothing because we can't trust you.
What?
So weird.
That's so bizarre.
And now Regal will not play Universal films either unless they back off of this shit. Because then Universal came out and said, oh, we're considering doing more movies straight to digital.
Right.
And
they
the
didn't
theaters didn't like that.
They're like,
shit.
oh yeah, we made a ton of money. So, you know, let's just start doing this from now on.
Which is also a lie.
Yeah.
Because the numbers are there. You can look up the box office. You can look up how much the movie's made. It is a failure. They have not made back the cost that it took to make the movie.
Right. Well, let's stop talking about
Jeremy thinks real quick though he wanted to say, what did you think of the movie?
Sorry, Jeremy.
It wasn't anything special. I didn't care for its attack on other music genres. I thought that was weird and unnecessary. I like other music genres. We don't need to pretend like they're evil.
Well, I think then spoiler alert.
It all works out at the end.
It all works out, and they realize that they can have their differences, and that's what makes them unique.
It makes you appreciate something like a Pixar or like a Spider-Verse, you know, because this is like they had a message here that somebody else could have done something with.
This is almost the same kind of movie as Inside Out. Yeah. Like the bare bones.
But dumbed down to explain it to children.
Right. To explain that, like, you know, you can't just go along thinking that your idea is always the right idea. That there are other aspects of that what make you who you are, like, you know what I mean, like,
right?
Which is like the
which
same. Which is an
message. Intelligent thing to tell children, and also something that adults need to hear a lot.
Yes.
And you know, but it's like the most dumbed down version of it that you could get. You know.
I just want to take a moment to justify why I have been continually saying I was excited for this movie.
No, it's funnier if you don't.
No, I wasn't excited for it based off of the movie's merits. That's all I'll say, I guess. Fine.
Oh, you explained it last time. There are people that you like in the movie.
No, what do you mean by last time? It wasn't on the podcast.
I thought you did say it on the Alex podcast.
Definitely didn't.
Okay, he did. You said you were excited for it on the Alex podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody just is going to think that Jeremy likes Trolls.
Jeremy loved the first one so much that he couldn't wait for opening day.
I detest
the coronavirus happened. And that's why he's upset about it.
I was watching it, and I said to Oliver, I was like, I actually forgot that this movie was about the troll dolls. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's
as
weird,
strange as that sounds, like, I actually forgot that was what we based this off of. Because, like, Oliver turns to me and goes, oh, are they, like, music-based dolls? And I was like, no. I was like, they just had weird hair.
They're just
hold up.
Right?
Did you not know what a troll doll was?
No, I know what a troll doll is. I'm
Meaning,
just
I guess,
saying, like, did they ever sell them with CDs or anything like? I know
No.
they're pencil toppers. I
Okay.
get that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, where did the music aspect come from?
Because they wanted to make a musical. They had all the rights to these famous songs, and they were like, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like they just
Yeah.
wanted to make it more enticing, so then it became a musical, movie.
Well, because the opening scene of the movie is them going, "Don't you know trolls love music?
Yeah.
Isn't that a thing that everybody knows?" To which I said, "Is that a thing that everybody knows that the trolls love music?"
If you watch Trolls World Tour and you've seen the first one, then yes, you know that.
We hadn't.
I understand I wasn't the target demographic, but I did miss out on Trolls 1.
Yes.
So
If you see a sequel to a movie and then it goes, don't you know that this established rule within our universe? And you go, no, nobody knows that. Well, it's because you didn't see the first one. You fuck.
nobody, I'm sure the first one does the same shit. It didn't seem like higher level storytelling to me.
I'm just saying.
But I'm a snob. Maybe Trolls 1 is the best movie of all time.
Can we move on from this?
Yeah, we have a
Welcome
whole
to the
other
Trolls
topic.
Cast.
We have a very other topic.
Yes, we'll jump into that in 1 second. I got to plug a couple things. I know Jeremy hates when I plug things because I don't ever research the plugs, and then
Right.
it's me stumbling around.
Yep.
Go follow swaptrap/swapnil on Instagram. I want to give him a plug just for another couple weeks. He did the artwork on the Spotify and the Apple Music, and it looks awesome. Go commission some art for yourself. B, we are on Spotify and Apple Music and a bunch of other platforms. You could Google us and we'll come up. Definitely go give those a listen. Great for when you're driving, if you're at work and you want to listen to a podcast, if you're cleaning, something like that. But don't forget that we're also available on YouTube, and usually this is a full multi-camera show when we're not under quarantine. Lastly, go check out pointsysurf.com. They designed our company logo.
Yep.
Looks awesome. Also a really great guy.
Yep.
I think that's it. Oh, and we're going to appear on an upcoming live stream. 3 of the catalog sketches will be there. I don't have official dates on when it is yet, but I will put a link to the AN Productions Facebook page, where soon there will be a live stream that features JJ's Picture Palooza, top 10 numbers that are not the number 5, and today's theme is horses, and a little bit of a commentary from me as well. Those are all the plugs. I think I did them faster than last week.
Good job.
Yes.
Proud of you.
You said the name of the video wrong. It's top 5 numbers that aren't 5.
What did I say?
Top
You
10.
said top 10.
Oh, no.
But speaking of top 10s, the top 10 movies of the 2010s.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
Top 10, top 10.
This is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I want to...
Very.
This is, for me, the decade that I became sentient because I was 11 going on 12 at the beginning of this decade. And that's really, these are the years that I really got into going to the movies and appreciating movies for what they are.
I'd like to not discuss how old I was in comparison to you saying I was 11 going on 12. I'd just rather not. Go ahead.
She was 13
No.
going on, she was 16 going on
She was 13
17.
going on 30, like the movie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
No, I'm just going on 30 now, and it's
no.
not awesome.
But, trying to rate all of the movies of the 2010s is a really difficult task, although I would have had a harder time doing 2000 to 2010, to be fair. But these are really important movies to me. I caught them all in the theater. They were really important to me at the time that they came out, and a lot of them still are. And I had a really hard time narrowing it down to 10, which is why, for me at least, the numbers here are kind of arbitrary.
Yeah, they're kind of arbitrary for me as well.
You
If
could
it's
say
on
that
the list
about
or an
mine,
honorable
too.
mention.
It's pretty arbitrary. Even some of my honorable mentions are like, this could have easily been on there on
Agreed.
the list in general. It's just like, I had to draw a line and just say, I'm done fucking with this,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because even think about when we make the top 10 movies of the year, that's already difficult. Now we're taking 10 years of movies, and some of them are movies we have not had an opportunity to talk about.
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that we don't like other movies or we didn't enjoy, you know, when we saw them, where it's like, oh, this was your number one on your list, but it's not, you know, it's like very hard to say.
That's the other thing I want to distinguish is this is different. We're also going to do a list coming up of the top the best movie from every year you've been alive.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Obviously, we're going to wait a little bit before we do that, but this is a different list than that. You can have movies from the same year in this list. It's also different if you look all of our top 10 movie lists. I don't think it would even be the same because, you know, with personal taste, things strike you differently at different times.
Right.
Exactly. Like I feel
my number
different.
one is not on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jerry.
No, that's it. It's just like you feel different as time goes on, and I also like. I just feel like if I'm declaring something, I feel like it's a different way of declaring something. Like as one of my favorite movies of the decade and one of the best movies of the year. You know.
Right, and best of 10 years is such lofty praise.
Yeah, hundreds of movies that you have to think of, and
you know that's some of your favorite movies then.
Yeah,
of all time.
Absolutely.
You know, I want to go over some ground rules when we jump into this. I think we should do it like we did our worst of 2019, which was first we went in snaking order.
Okay.
Second, if you have a repeat on the list, jump in and talk about it there. You can remind everybody that was your number one.
Wait, hold on. Sorry. Snaking order, as in like
Oliver, Brittany, Jeremy, Brittany, Oliver.
I just think it makes so much more sense to go Oliver, Brittany, Jeremy, Oliver, Brittany, Jeremy, and just go in a circle. Why does like?
Would you prefer to do that?
Yes.
Works for me. The main point that I'm getting at here is if I say a movie and you have it too, doesn't matter if it's there, talk about it with me and we'll move on.
Yep. We don't have to talk about it twice.
And you can just remind me and then we'll jump to the next person and that's fine.
I'm really glad that our listeners are experiencing this with us.
This is what you get with this. You're in on the ground floor making the podcast with us.
Yeah. What we should do is after the third person goes for each number, we should leave like a 30-second pause so the listener can say out loud their pick.
Right. Okay. That's what we'll do.
No.
If you're in the state of New York, yell your answer as loud as you can. We can probably hear you.
Yep.
New York is a small place
and
with not a lot of people.
All the time.
Correct.
Also, for time, we're not going to go in depth on movies 6 through 10, right?
Correct.
No.
Probably just like a sentence or two, because I want to say something, but not a discussion. You know?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Cool. So we're starting with number 10?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oliver's going to start us off, and then Jeremy, you can go, and then I will go last.
When do we want to do honorable mentions?
We'll do them like before we do our first.
Yeah, I think after number 2.
If one of your honorable mentions is mentioned, you can mention that was your honorable mention. Let me say mention one more time. Mention.
Hello, God damn it.
Oh, hello.
We were having, I'm sure you heard and saw, we were having some technical difficulties. We think we fixed them, and we're gonna pick up where we left off.
So before jumping into the list, just better to relocate so we're not doing it a sentence at a time.
Yep.
So we're gonna start at my number 10 movie, which is The Social Network.
I believe I deserve some recognition from this board.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
I don't understand.
Which part?
Coming out in 2010. David Fincher is one of my favorite film directors of all time, and Aaron Sorkin, like everybody knows, is a really great writer. I don't need to say that he's one of my favorites because it goes without saying, because that's what he's famous for. But I think Social Network is the pick of from his filmography of the last 10 years, just because it's a really relevant story, at least to my generation, in that Facebook becoming really popular is the beginning of, social media and better communication online, which is then what I went on to do for work.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a really relevant story to me and they took something really boring and made it very interesting, very high stakes, high drama. And it's a really great movie. Anybody could watch it and get into it.
Yeah, and I think that that was really helped by Jesse Eisenberg. I think he did a really great job as Mark Zuckerberg. It was funny and intelligent, but not over your head, that you weren't, understanding what he was talking about.
And he plays like the anti-hero that became such a big thing in the 2010s. But Jesse Eisenberg is such a classic example of this guy's a piece of shit psychopath, but I'm totally rooting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how crazy he comes off. And Andrew Garfield, who, before Spider-Man, was awesome in this movie as well.
Yep, and so was Justin Timberlake.
And Armie Hammer playing 2 parts.
There you go.
Neat.
All right, Jeremy, you're number 10.
My number 10 is going to be probably the weirdest pick on my list. And I think I will have to justify it a little bit. My number 10 pick is a Swedish movie called Sound of Noise.
It is?
Does it deserve to be on a top 10 of the decade? I don't know. The problem is that every time I thought about it, I kept thinking about how much I liked it, which is the biggest association with the movie that I have. And I found it very difficult to remove it from my list because I kept thinking about how much I liked it.
That's a great pick. A friend of ours showed Ethan.
Yes, I know Ethan.
Yeah. Ethan
Hi,
in
Ethan.
high school, I'm sure he's watching this actually, especially if I tell him that that's on there. In high school would show us a lot of very strange movies. They weren't all winners, but every now and then he'd pull one out that was, just a great movie that nobody had ever heard of. I'll let Jeremy explain the movie a little more, but I just want to pipe in and say that the ending of Sound of Noise is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on film for such a strange and outlandish movie. That's a really good pick. I would never have thought of that.
I literally have zero idea what you're talking about, but I'll take
Jeremy will
for
tell
it.
you what it's about.
It's in Swedish, and it's about this cop who hates music.
Because he's tone deaf.
He's tone deaf and he hates music. Also, his brother is a famous musician. And there are these music terrorists who go around doing crimes related to them playing music. And strangely, every single thing that they use as an instrument, suddenly the main character who hates music can't hear sounds from that object anymore. Like the object, he becomes deaf to the noise of that object. And since I think he's a policeman.
He's a detective.
He's a detective who he's in charge of trying to catch the guys that are doing these crimes. It's weird, but it's so interesting. I really enjoyed it when we watched it, whenever the fuck we did.
And it starts so strange because it's not a very accessible concept. It sounds like a cartoon. And it plays like a cartoon for a long time until you hit the end of the movie, and then you realize, oh, he had something actually really intelligent and smart to say here that's kind of beautiful. What a good movie.
Yeah, if I watched the movie today, would I like it as much as I remember liking it? I don't know, but I look back so fondly that I felt like I had trouble taking it off of the list, which is why I was like, it has to go here at number 10. That's it. Brittany?
Well, I guess we could segue music into my number 10. My number 10 is the 2012 version of Les Mis. And I really love that movie. That movie had a really big impact on me when it came out. I love the music. I had seen it on Broadway, and I saw it at midnight on Christmas Day or something like that. And I was really excited for it, and I loved it. I know a lot of people, Oliver, really doesn't like it because he likes the 20th anniversary version, right? That's the one that you always listen to.
The play, yeah.
The play, yeah. So he doesn't really like it, but I really love it, and I think that the movie was a really, really good adaptation. There were things I would have changed, but for a 3-hour-long play about the French Revolution and everybody dies, I think they did a really great job. And at the end of the movie, one of the most impactful cinematic scenes I think ever. I think I cry every single time I watch it. So I don't know. I really like it. So that's why it's my number 10.
I think the movie has merit as a film, and it's so unfortunate about Cats because Tom Hooper actually is a really good filmmaker, as evident.
And it's unfortunate that they casted Russell Crowe.
Oh, well, he's not good at casting, clearly.
Right, a different man as Javert would have made the movie so much better than it was, but they wanted star power more than anything else.
Well, that's what's so strange about it to me, because Javert has one of the best parts of the whole of all the music in the play. His are the best parts.
Yeah,
he's my favorite character, and Russell Crowe can't carry a tune. So to cast somebody in a musical, there are plenty of actors who can both sing and act.
Right.
And act better than Russell Crowe, for that matter. I don't think he's like the best actor I've ever seen.
Right.
And Hugh Jackman was enough star power at the time to carry the movie by himself. You know, and
Anne Hathaway.
Right.
You know, and Eddie Redmayne was coming up at that time, and you know.
I know I hate him though.
I know. I'm just saying.
You know, it's like, to me, even though it's a very interesting thing that he had them sing it on set.
Yeah, I love that.
It would have more staying power with me if he had done it in a studio, though, because I would be able to listen to it and not think about how it's just a guy in front of a camera. But that's just me, and I know that's not everybody, but I already have a pre-attached notion to this property, and I already like it as something else.
Right. So despite these flaws, I still love the movie, so it's my number 10.
Never seen it. I don't have anything to say. I agree that they should cast.
Hasn't seen it.
I agree that they should cast somebody that can sing. Which breakdown was it that I took a big dig into Emma Watson for Beauty and the Beast? We weren't even talking about Beauty and the Beast, but I just took a sidetrack to be like, fuck that. Anyway, number 9s. Let's move on to number 9s.
Number 9s. My number 9. This is terrible. I forgot what my number 9 was. Oh, my number 9 is a Wes Anderson movie called The Grand Budapest Hotel.
Have you ever been questioned by the authorities?
Yes, on one occasion.
What?
I was arrested and tortured by the rebel militia after the Desert Uprising.
Right. Well, you know the drill then. Zip it.
I was torn between this one and Isle of Dogs, which was my number 1 movie of 2018. But I think Grand Budapest has more staying power with me. I love all the characters in it. I love the way that he shot the movie. Everything looks like a dollhouse. But the movie is so dark in that wrapper of like really jolly and funny. You know, and we just watched it recently, and I forgot how dark the movie gets. While still being very, very humorous in that like dry Wes Anderson kind of way, which is also my sense of humor. And Ray Fiennes is great in the movie as well. I think he deserved an Academy Award for it, but not even a nomination. What a bummer.
I liked it when I saw it. It was a little darker than I anticipated it being, but I did enjoy it. I like all the little nods and little things, the little cameos that they do throughout the whole movie. I thought it was cute. Not on my top 10, obviously, but I liked it.
I've seen half of this movie with Oliver. Yeah, and then I had to leave, so I've never seen the other half. I guess the first half didn't make enough of an impression on me to go watch the other half. But I'd like to go through more of Wes Anderson's movies. I think from what I've seen, he's pretty good.
You're number 10, Jeremy. We have to do these a little faster.
We gotta rattle through.
Yeah.
My number 9 might also be a bit surprising if you've ever listened to my opinions. My number 9 is going to be The Big Sick.
Let me give you some advice, Kamal. Love isn't easy. That's why they call it love.
I don't really get that.
I know. I thought I could just start saying something and something smart would come out.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oliver loves that movie.
I love that movie.
The Big Sick.
Do you need a second to do some more listing? Or
no, list is final at the beginning of the show, but if I had thought of it, it would have got there.
Such a delight. Very good movie. Yeah, you wanted it sped up. There you go.
Rare Romano.
No, a very good movie. I like some of the things that it says about certain things. Like there's a thing that Kumail Nanjiani says to his parents that I don't know, I think it's very interesting. And there's the big like moment at the end that is weirdly meaningful to me. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything, so that's all I'll say.
Don't spoil anything for a movie that came out 3 years ago.
You never know.
Not everybody saw it, and actually not enough people saw it.
True.
So if you haven't seen Big Sick, anybody.
It wasn't a
could
big
watch that movie
blockbuster, you know.
out of it,
No.
You know.
Yeah.
And they made it very cheap, and made money for what it was.
So
It's
I
fantastic.
appreciate the fact that our number 9s are very diverse. So you had Grand Budapest, Jeremy had The Big Sick, and mine is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which
That's
came
another
out
good one.
in 2010.
Good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm mentioning the year that it came out because I think that it's important that people know when, these movies came out, because you could think that it came out so much sooner or so much earlier than it actually did. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I mean, I can't even count how many times I've seen that movie. Honestly, it probably could have been a little lower on my list, like, more towards 1, but that's where it is. It's just a great movie. Like, the cinematography is great. The music is great. The acting is great. The colors are great. Like, it's just, there's so many good things about it.
And
Very
it's such
quote-worthy.
a strange kind of funny.
Yeah,
too.
and it's just a good kind of movie. And I think that really was one of the first movies to kind of spark my interest in, like, this, like, fantasy comic booky kind of thing. So
I mean, that movie, so much of it is style.
Yeah.
And Edgar Wright, that's his thing, you know?
And a lot of times you can have style over substance, but this had both, and I really appreciated it. And I'm glad that they never made another one, even though now they're talking about apparently doing another one. Yeah.
It's not attached. I'm not interested.
I know, but it was a great movie. All right, number 8.
My number 8 is Toy Story 3, coming out in 2010.
Now, Woody, he's been my pal for as long as I can remember. He's brave, like a cowboy should be, and kind and smart. But the thing that makes Woody special is he'll never give up on you. Ever. He'll be there for you, no matter what.
I didn't know where this was going to be on the list, and I was actually weighing it out with Coco, but I think Toy Story as a franchise has a really big part in my life, and for me, liking pop culture and movies. So I had to put it on the list. And although I did like Toy Story 4, I think Toy Story 3 is one of the best movies that's ever been made, ever. So, it's funny, it's sad, and it's on the list.
There you go. I love it.
My number 8 is going to be, I'm going to say 3 Billboards.
Another good one. Over
I've-
Ebbing, Missouri?
Yeah. I didn't remember what the second half of the title is.
Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Yes.
I watched this movie again relatively recently. And both times I've watched this movie, I have just been so surprised at how much I've enjoyed it. I don't know why. Very good. Very, very good. Would recommend.
It's such a good drama, and everybody's so on their game in that movie, too.
I like that movie a lot, but it's a little sad and disturbing for me to, like, have
That's why I
to
haven't
watch
revisited
again.
it.
Yeah, like, I feel like I watched the one time I got the story, and I appreciate it for what it is, but, like, I don't know, like, when it comes to stuff like that, I can't really keep revisiting it.
It also feels like a movie I wouldn't like as much as I do, but like I'm so into it for some reason.
Well, that's like one of my favorite things we've ever said about, like, making films is we saw that movie together. And I remember saying to Jeremy after, like, oh, that's all we have to do. Just make them good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all saw this movie together.
Yeah.
That's nice.
This was the first Movie
The
Pass
first-
movie.
Oh, there you go. Wow. R.I.P. Anyway, my number 8, which I know is on Oliver's list and is probably much lower than my choice, but is Inception.
You mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
Inception. What year did Inception come out? 2010. Yeah, 2010. That's my third movie from 2010 on this list, which I think is amazing. But Inception was a great movie. I mean, I think that's like probably of all the movies that we're going to name, that's probably like can be said to be a lot of people's favorite movie or favorites.
One of
movie.
the reasons Inception is my number 4 pick.
There you go.
But the reason Inception is so high is I think Inception is the generation-defining movie.
Yep.
If you try to look for something like, in the 70s, everybody saw The Godfather.
Right.
Everybody went and saw Inception. It's referenced in so many pieces of work after that. It's such a big part of the pop culture to have the dream within the dream.
It's such a unique story to be
Right.
told to and done in the right way. All the casting was on point. The cinematography was great. Like,
and like it's in rap songs.
Yeah.
You know, it's the subject of dad jokes from every boss ever.
Yeah,
you know,
Michael Scott makes an Inception joke. Like,
right?
Yeah.
You know, and besides that, the subject matter is just something exceptional that has not been on film before.
Yep.
And I think even Christopher Nolan's been trying to do it again, and he just can't, you know.
Great movie.
Good movie, very memorable. Yeah, I don't know.
Great.
Anyway, Oliver.
Number 7.
So my number 7, I had it, and then you started talking about Inception, and I got a little excited. My number 7 movie is Birdman.
Face it, Dad, you're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't.
This is a movie that is very divisive. A lot of people really love this movie, but the people who don't like it really hate it. A lot of people call it very gimmicky, but I don't see that. I know that it's all done in one take, and it's a movie about making art, which is, you know, just going to be pretentious by nature of what it is. But I think it really had something to say, especially by casting Michael Keaton as the lead character, who had gone through most of the struggles that the main character was going through.
Mm-hmm.
And shooting it all in one shot was really the only way to tell the story, in my opinion, that would have been engaging. And it's an added bonus that it talks about superheroes, because I love superheroes.
Right. Oliver did have me watch this film somewhat recently as well. And I don't know if it's the movie for me, but I can see why he really likes it, because it was very interesting and it was captivating in that way. But it wasn't my favorite.
It's definitely not for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. But if it is for you and it is up your alley, it's a winner. And it, you know, to the right audience, it's a crowd pleaser.
Gotcha.
You've never seen it?
No, I've never seen it. My number 7, here on out, my list is going to be much more predictable to me, I think. Starting with number 7, I have as Infinity War.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe. But this does put a smile on my face.
I have Infinity War as well, Jeremy.
I have it on my honorable mention, so I guess we could just have a little go about.
I have it tied with Avengers Endgame.
Yes, me too.
For the record, which I know Jeremy does not like as much as we do.
For what number?
This is my number 3 pick.
Okay.
But I will chime in about Infinity War. Go ahead.
Like, oh my God, this movie, like so many people say, I feel like I don't like need to explain what was good about Infinity War, but like so many expectations, and this is the movie to me that lived up to them in every single way that I wanted it to. And I don't, it's just like so well made. I can't, like, it's the culmination of everything about comic books movies that's like so amazing
take
to me.
comic books out of it, it's a space opera, you know, and
Sure.
it just happens to feature 50 superheroes, you know.
Right.
It's the hero's journey as told through the villain's eyes, which is such an interesting way to make any movie, not just a comic book movie. And I think it also did a lot for Marvel, who at the time were taking shit for, every movie's the same thing.
Yep. So
they come out with one where the villain wins at the end. That's so ballsy. And I know a lot of people see it as the part 1, but it's a complete story. That's the ending of the movie, is that the villain wins. You know, and take the ending out of it, it's just a fun movie that anybody can get into and watch, even if you don't care about superheroes.
Right.
And the stakes still, like, I understand what the movie is, but the stakes still feel so, like, real. Like, I remember seeing it for the first time. Can I spoil this movie a little bit?
Everybody saw it. It's fine.
Thanos stabs Iron Man on Titan, and, like, I remember seeing that for the first time and, like, flinching. It was such a fucking tense and, like, oh, God. Such a good movie.
The Infinity War and Avengers Endgame are, like, such a testament to good movie marketing, because the whole marketing campaign of Infinity War was, they didn't even need a trailer. They just told you, yeah, somebody dies.
Mm.
That was all they said. And everybody was hyped for that movie. People were predicting it online forever. People who hadn't even seen the other movies.
Right.
You know, and then Endgame was, you saw everybody die in the last one? How are they going to fix that? And you had a year of people just being hyped for that movie. And just to throw in, because we're talking about it now, so we don't have to go back later, to me, and I know not for everybody, but Avengers Endgame is the perfect culmination of everything, in my opinion. Even the things I didn't like about it at first, minus what they did to the Hulk, which is bad, and I'll concede to that. But everything else that I initially had an issue with, it just doesn't bother me anymore. It's just a good movie that's entertaining to watch, and I've seen it. I prefer to watch it over Infinity War now.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I'll even concede that all my problems have like faded much more into the back of my mind than the high points of Endgame. Right. But I still can't associate it with how I felt then, because I haven't watched it since, so I can't associate it with any other watch than the watch where I didn't really enjoy it.
Right. Your number? What number was
7.
that, Jeremy? 6?
That was 7.
That was 7. Okay.
My number 7 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which came out last year.
But my hands are registered as lethal weapons. That means we get into a fight, I accidentally kill you, I go to jail.
Anybody accidentally kills anybody in a fight, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter.
It was my number 1 film of 2019, and since we made that video, I've watched it several times, and I just love the movie. I just think it's great. I think the set design, costuming is awesome. Casting was great. Brad Pitt's amazing. Leo's amazing. And I just love it. I don't need to talk more about it. It's in our best of 2019, but.
And I'll throw in also that for a movie that I initially walked out disappointed, the more that I watch it, the better the movie is.
Yeah. Did you see that one, Jeremy?
I did. I saw it with you guys.
Right.
Not the first time you saw it, but I saw it with you guys. Pretty good movie, yeah.
And for me to want to see a almost 3 hour long movie,
Quentin Tarantino movie,
3 times in the theater, yeah,
they did something right.
Yep. Number 6.
So my number 6, I had to have Edgar Wright on here, and I considered Edgar Wright as a filmmaker who has such a strong filmography that never gets the due that it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
He's never mentioned with the greats, and he should be. He's never made a bad movie, in my opinion.
Right.
That being said, he made a lot of great movies in the last 10 years with Scott Pilgrim, World's End, and Baby Driver. And, Baby Driver was my number 1 the year that it came out. And that was almost going to be the movie that was on this list. But World's End.
What do we do? Let's finish our drinks.
Which is by a lot of people considered to be his weakest film, I think is his best movie. I think it's the funniest one, and it's the most creative. And I think that it has the most to say because while it's about an alien invasion taking over this small town, it's also about this guy who, thought his life was going to be this big, wonderful thing. And then he kind of bottomed out at high school. And, it's about getting his life back on track and what he chose to do with his life after that point. And it's all wrapped into this really fun science fiction movie that if you don't see a trailer, really catches you off guard because at first this movie is about a pub crawl and then it turns into, but the town is run over by aliens. And that is all mixed in with Edgar Wright's signature style, which is not like any other filmmaker that's working today. And it's a really great movie that not enough people have seen. Again,
like me.
I wasn't a huge fan, but that's fine.
A bummer.
Like me, I haven't seen it. My number 6 movie is Isle of Dogs.
We get the idea. You're looking for your lost dog spots. Does anybody know him?
No.
Yes, Isle of Dogs.
Isle of Dogs.
An isleable mention.
Isleable.
Such a beautiful to look at movie in the way that it was created, and just a nice story that I just have a lot of fun with. I guess I have a really good time with. Doesn't seem like a thing I know how to. I don't know how to like harp on it more than I have, and it was my number 2 of 2018. So if you want to hear further thoughts, you can go watch that video.
It was on all of our 2018 lists.
It was my number 1.
It was my number 5 or something like that.
Great movie, very good, underrated science fiction movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
My number 6 is This Is the End.
Can I have that Milky Way?
No, you can't have the Milky Way. It's my special food. I like it.
I want some of the Milky Way. I'd be pretty bummed if I don't at least get a bite of the Milky Way.
From 2013.
Yeah, this was almost on my list. This was on my list, and then it got knocked for something else.
I love that movie. It's funny. It's apocalyptic, you know, which is like the time it came out in the time when like apocalypse movies were like huge, but it like took those movies and kind of like flipped it because everybody thought that it was just going to be like a spoof movie, but it wasn't, and it was at the same time, which I really appreciated. And it was funny, and it was all these actors that have been like all these comedic actors that have been in all these other movies, and you get to see them kind of just like being themselves, but
well,
not really.
They literally play themselves.
Right, they literally play themselves, which wasn't supposed to be how it was, and then they got on set and said that that's what they were doing, and I just love that whole thing. And it's a funny movie. It's got a lot. It's got layers. I like it a lot.
And I'll throw in also that, you know, in the last 10 years, I don't think there are a lot of comedies that really made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
There are movies that were not intended to be comedies that were funnier than the comedies that came out.
But like the part that's great about this movie is that although it is a comedy, it's like it has a story to it. It's not just funny. Yeah, exactly.
It's funnier because there are real life stakes in the movie that now I have something there to laugh at. But it functions as a movie by itself.
Right. It's like a Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I wish could have been on this list, but that's 2008. 2008?
Yes, 2008.
But yes, but it's the same kind of thing where it's just like the premise of the movie is not necessarily funny. If anything, it's scary. But the movie, the way that they make it is funnier, and I appreciate that. I always love comedy, especially when you can make a scary situation funny. That's my favorite. Number 5.
These are the ones where we're going to talk more extensively.
Oh God, no! It should be about the same, if not less.
Yeah.
Number 5.
You're the main culprit here.
That's too bad. I'll try for it not to be a 2-hour show.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, I have Get Out.
Get out.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
This was a real sleeper hit, you know, both for me and just for the general public.
Mm-hmm.
The trailers made it look like a very strange and out there horror movie that I thought I would like just because I like weird movies.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a really approachable and relatable movie, even if you're not into horror and you're not into science fiction. This is one of the most original movies to come out in the last 10, maybe 20 years. You know, we talked about Inception being generation defining, and I think now we're seeing Get Out kind of step into that place where it's a movie that everybody's seen, that everybody references. And on top of that, they made it for almost no money, which I think is insane because they made a ton of money by releasing it.
Yeah, this movie was almost on my list as well because it was really, really good. I'm not a horror person. If you've heard anything else that we've done, I literally just said it like 30 seconds ago. I'm not a horror person. I don't like scary movies, but this movie actually was really good. I wanted to see what it was about. I wanted to see what was happening. And I was satisfied at the end. You know, it was scary, but it was you know, not so outlandish that I didn't enjoy watching it.
And the ideas are original and different that nobody else has thought of them.
Right.
Oh my God, Get Out. When I first had to make the list, when I first was thinking of it, I was like, oh, Get Out's probably going to be on my top 10. And then when I actually had to write down all the movies, I think I just forgot to write it down. So it's now in my honorable mentions. I completely such a good movie. Love
That's
it.
exactly what happened with The Big Sick for me. That sucks.
All right, Jeremy, number 5.
Number 5 is my number 5. I have down as Jojo Rabbit.
You're growing up too fast. 10-year-olds shouldn't be celebrating war and talking politics.
I knew this was going to come up on Jeremy's list.
That's interesting because I didn't. It came out of a year that I think was very disappointing for me, and it was like by far my favorite thing, and I've watched it again since, and I thought more about this movie, and I liked it then, but I keep warming up to it more and more and more, and I can't really give like I can't give like a rational explanation of why, but I just like it's such a good. It's funny, which is nice, but it's got such good heart in it too that like really gets me every time. I don't know, and I guess as a Jew, It means a lot. No, I take that back. I don't want to relate to it like that because I don't actually think I relate to it like that as much as I should as a Jew. But this movie just keeps growing in my mind. I really like it.
Yeah, this is one I saw it and really, really dug it, but you know, I haven't had a chance to go back and watch it since.
Right.
But when the Oscars were coming out and they were showing all those clips, you know, you look back and you're like, oh, I really liked that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said, it's got so much heart. It's very sincere in what it's trying to do, and as an added bonus, it's a really funny movie too.
Yeah, I like Jojo Rabbit a lot. That was a good one.
All right, number 4?
No,
Brittany's number 5.
My number 5 is Wolf of Wall Street, 2013.
Come on.
Yes, I love that movie. I feel like I say that at the beginning of every one, but a common theme on my list, I guess, so far has been Leo DiCaprio. This is my third Leonardo DiCaprio movie on this list. I really love him as an actor. I would say he's my favorite actor. You know, when you fill out those little, what's your favorite forms? Leonardo DiCaprio is definitely on there. I just like it. I'm hard pressed to watch something that he's in that I don't enjoy and enjoy like thoroughly. And Wolf of Wall Street is no exception to that. And I really think that that movie had a lot going on, and it was about somebody who like you didn't care or know at all really, but it made his story so interesting and so comical and but also sad at the same time.
And somebody,
you know,
that you don't like.
No, it made an unlikable. He made an
movie.
unlikable character likable somehow, and it's a good movie. It's a really good movie. I mean, it's messed up. It's funny. It's dark. It's
Well, what I love about Wolf of Wall Street is that I walked out of Wolf of Wall Street again not liking it because it's Scorsese, and I just go into Scorsese expecting something much bigger, which is why I have high hopes for The Irishman down the line, because now I love this movie. I don't think that's going to happen though.
I don't think so either.
But what I love about Wolf of Wall Street is that the whole first 20 minutes of the movie are telling you why you should not like this character. And then it asks you to try.
Right.
And that's such a like smart narrative conceit to do. And on top of that, the movie's just a lot of fun, you know?
Right. And another common thread of mine has been Jonah Hill, because I love Jonah Hill as well. And he's so funny in this movie because he's like playing like his kind of normal Jonah Hill, but like almost like amped up, like, you know, 100%. And I love that. Like, I love his like fake teeth and that like really like, I don't know how to explain it, but like that just that
he's disgusting.
He's disgusting, but he's hilarious at the same time. And that whole scene where he's in, I don't even know the guy's name. He plays Shane on The Walking Dead, but when he's
John Barenthal.
John Barenthal, yes. When they're in the parking lot together, and I know I'm going on a tangent here, but he's going, are you trying to kiss me? And it's just so stupid, but it's so funny. He's like, I saw like a twinkle in your eye. And it's just like, you know, if you like Jonah Hill, it's just like a funny, I'm sorry. I love that scene. I love that movie. Anyway, number 4.
All right, my number 4 was Inception, which we already talked about.
There you go.
So on to you, Jeremy.
My number 4 is probably going to be on Oliver's list. My number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, I'm going to reserve the right to talk about this because it's my number 1.
That's my number 3. So.
Oh wow! I can't believe we all have this.
Yeah.
And I wish it could have been in order. I should have made it my number 2.
Let's talk about, because it's my number 1. Can we talk about it at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, can we have one on Brittany's that we could skip for number 4? That would just be so funny if we skipped all of them.
There is no 4.
No, I have a 4.
Brittany's got a 4.
Sorry.
I mean, obviously you have a 4.
My 4 number 1 of 2018, but Star is Born was great. It's the 4th time they remade this film. I love Lady Gaga. I'm like a so-so fan of Bradley Cooper. Like, this definitely made me like him more. But the music is wonderful. I still listen to it all the time, like if not on a daily basis, a weekly basis. And another one of those movies, like I like movies that can evoke a lot of emotion out of me that I can go into and laugh and cry. And I definitely do that every time I see the movie, and I sing along to it, and I love music. So it meant a lot to me. So that's why it's number 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those movies where it's very hard to poke a hole in there and say this doesn't work. You know, there's hardly anything you can do that with. I can't even think of one off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. That movie is fantastic, so emotional. It could have been on my top 10. It's one of my honorable mentions, and it probably should have been on my top 10, but like, so good.
What are you gonna do? All right, number 3. I have Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame tied. Although I did say that they're not part 1 and part 2, they also are. So
for this purpose,
I'll just throw it because we talked about Infinity War. I'll just throw it that Endgame. Not only was the movie really fun for me, but you know, it's only every couple of years that you see a hype machine like that get built up, and that it's something that you're already super excited about, and you get to be with all the other people who are really excited about the movie, and it's not just that one niche; it's everybody. Right. You know, and that was what Avengers Endgame was, and it was about Spider-Man and Captain America, you know, and all these things that I've loved forever, and that was a really fun year in between those two things to just speculate on that with people who don't read comic books. You know?
I have Endgame and Infinity War as my honorable mention, just because I don't feel like you guys having it on your list makes sense for you. I feel like for me, it was more just like pop culture and, you know, like being in the know of what was going on, like, and that's such a big part of our pop culture right now. That's why I needed to recognize the fact that I really do enjoy those movies as well.
Yeah, good stuff.
Number 3, Jeremy?
My number 3 is it's fun. We all have an Edgar Wright movie on here. My number 3 is Baby Driver.
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver.
Oh, like a chauffeur. Anyone I'd know?
I hope not.
Oh, there you go.
Such a great
movie.
Can I say anything else? Like, such a good movie.
I'm so upset that it's not on my list, and it just too many.
I'm upset I made the decision to not put it on my list.
Yeah, but World's End is really good too.
Like, I just wish I knew how to say anything else about any of these movies other than such a good movie, you know? But like, I love the music in this movie. I love the style of this movie. It's just like captivating in those two. Well, I mean, captivating like every way, but the style in general, I can't.
Syncing up gunshots and tires screeching with music, and like having it not be like cheesy. It was incredible. I mean, like, incredible.
I've never seen a movie that made me more revved up, and for that matter,
revved up.
I don't think I've ever left a movie in this sense more satisfied with how the story went. I've left movies as satisfied, like I had a really good time. But as far as how clean this story wraps up without it feeling forced, great. That's amazing storytelling that like you leave the movie and it's like nothing else could have happened to that guy. That was the perfect amount of time that could have been on screen.
Right.
Yeah, so good.
As a side note, that's one of the biggest Oscar snubs that nobody ever talks about, is that thing did not win the sound editing award, even though it was nominated.
Do you know what won over it?
The whole movie, Dunkirk.
Oh,
snooze fest.
Yeah, a fantastic movie that if you have not seen, I don't know what's wrong with you. I mean, there's only like one thing that I think you could pretend is legitimate about like not seeing this movie.
You haven't heard of it.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say some people just get really self-righteous about the fact that Kevin Spacey's in it.
True.
Which is not a movie ruiner for me, but that sucks. Still a fantastic movie, though.
I feel like everybody that we've told to watch the movie that has actually watched it loved it.
Yeah.
Like, we watched it with our coworkers, like 5 of our coworkers, and every single one of them loved it. Like, you know, it was like one of those movies that it's like, if you recommend it to somebody and they actually sit down and watch it, they love it.
And it's also one of those rare movies where it's like, we talked about this.
Didn't we make my dad watch it too?
Yeah.
And didn't he love it?
Yeah. But we talked about this even with Venom. There's so many movies that people are like, oh, the action is what makes it. And that's so rarely the case. But this is something where, like, even the violence, which I don't particularly get into, is really fun.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't see me again because I'm dead. I just like that. My number 3 was Guardians. So Guardians 1 and 2 because I cheated. So
we'll talk about those at the end.
We'll talk about those at the end. Number 2.
My number 2, this was a tough one. And everybody knows this is my new favorite movie. It's Beach Bum, 2019.
Is that the motherfucking Moon Dog?
Moon Dog.
Man, you look like shit.
I look like I always look.
It's on my honorable mention.
You want to talk about something really underrated?
Yep.
Not only did nobody see this thing, but also the people who saw it trash it online relentlessly. Nobody liked this movie, I guess, except for us. But this really spoke to me. It's kind of like feelings put on screen. You know,
it's poetry.
Right.
It's literally poetry.
And because it's a movie about a poet.
Yep.
You know, and I can't say more than I've already said. There's now 3 videos of me talking about it on the channel, but the more that I watch it, the more that I love this movie. I could have it on at any time and get totally sucked into it. Just really good filmmaking. I really love this movie.
I agree. I really love the movie as well. And again, like most other things, the music I think really drives this movie, and we've been listening to a lot of the music from it lately, and I just feel like very connected to the story and to the way that it was told, and I like Beach Bum a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. Like, works in ways that it shouldn't. Fantastic. You know, like, I can't.
Oh, you can't overstate how much the movie shouldn't work.
Right.
Which maybe is why people don't like it, but you know, it's a movie that intentionally doesn't have a story or consequences for the main character, you know, that it just kind of meanders, but it's just so fun. You know?
Yeah, very, very good. On to me. My number 2 is I have down as Mad Max Fury Road.
Interesting.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Good one.
Yeah. Such a good movie. I'm sorry. Such a good movie though. I don't know. I'm struggling to put other words to it. The action is fantastic. I don't think there's a person that I've known that's ever not thought that this was like a great movie.
You know, the thing about Mad Max is it is not a story-driven movie by any means. It's a big art project, you know, that's also this kick-ass action movie. You know, and on top of that, you also took something that was now decades old and for all intents and purposes rebooted it without it feeling very grabby and like, you know, cash in. It's just a cool movie.
Yeah.
I don't have much of an opinion about it, but I can understand why you'd like it.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
Cool. My number 2, which is a movie that I don't think either of you would have seen, or I know Jeremy didn't see it, but I know that you wouldn't have seen if I didn't make you watch it at one point in time, but it's This Is 40.
I've made a list. It's the do better list. We're 40 years old. If we don't do it now, when are we going to do it? Your eyes are kind of glazing over.
I'm processing it all.
Jeremy, have you seen that movie?
No.
Okay. It's a great movie. Obviously I'm not 40, but yeah. But it's about the 2 main characters. It's actually like an unofficial sequel of Knocked Up, which have you seen Knocked Up, Jer?
No.
Okay, well, never mind then. It's an unofficial sequel of Knocked Up because it uses the 2 same characters, but it has really nothing to do with the original movie. But it's about these 2 characters, and it's Leslie Mann and Paul Rudd, and they're both turning 40, and they have 2 kids, and like kind of like how crazy their lives are. And it's a comedy, but it's more like a dramedy, you know, because it is like dramatic, but it's still funny at the same time. And I just really love that movie. I mean, like, I think it's one of my favorite movies of all time, obviously, if it's number 2 on this list. And I would say favorite movies of all time, like we quote it all the time, or I quote it all the time. And I just feel like it's one of those like gems that, again, if I were to like sit you down and make you watch it, you would like it, but like you wouldn't like just think to watch it. You wouldn't just say
it's very forgotten about.
Yeah, it is a forgotten about movie, but it doesn't make it not good. It's actually very, very good. And I love Leslie Mann and I love Paul Rudd, and they're both really great and they work really well and they have really good chemistry together. And the movie's funny, but it's also kind of sad and it's like very real, and the comedy is real. It's not just like a slapstick funny movie. Watch This Is 40 if you haven't seen it. The dressing takes away from the natural taste of the lettuce. I don't know what else to say.
Okay.
Number one.
Okay, so number one.
I feel robbed of my opportunity to talk about this movie. So can I say my thoughts before you?
Yes, of course. But before we jump into it.
Oh, honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions, real quick. Don't need to talk about them at length, but I just want to read off mine really quick because I have them. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This would have made the list, except that this is one of the rare cases where the sequel kind of ruins the stuff that already exists. So
is that rare? I feel like that happens frequent enough.
It's rare for me. I can usually separate them.
Okay.
I can usually still enjoy the first one, but this is one of those things where I can't. Mm-hmm. Wolf of Wall Street. Really liked the movie, but not like top 10.
Okay.
Baby Driver only got knocked because I put World's End on here. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse features Spider-Man, and who is my favorite fictional character of all time. It's just too new for me to say that it holds up with these other ones, but I have also seen it a lot in the year that it's been out, 2 years now, I guess. This Is the End, really funny comedy that, should have been on here, but I knew we'd get a chance to talk about it. And that's what I got.
Jeremy, honorable mentions?
My honorable mentions are Get Out. It's not on my list because I guess I forgot about it. A Star Is Born. Already mentioned it. I feel bad about saying this because it feels more like a meme than an actual pick, but Paddington 2 is on my honorable mentions. And my last one is It's Such a Beautiful Day. Another one that I watched a long time ago that I just keep thinking about and thinking about how what a beautiful day it was,
That's a great movie. If anybody hasn't seen that or probably hasn't heard of it, definitely watch that. It's on Netflix and it's only like an hour.
Great. My honorable mentions, I said before, Endgame / Infinity War. I liked those. I put Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 on here as well, because Harry Potter was obviously a really big part of like everybody's lives. Actually, Deathly Hallows is not my favorite, which is why it's not on my top 10. Like if it were almost any of the other movies, it would have been in my top 10, but it's still an honorable mention because I still love it. I also put Breaking Dawn Part 1 and 2 on there as well, which is the ending of the Twilight movies, because I liked them. And like it's not even that these are the best movies that have ever been made, but they just mean a lot to me and who I was as a person, like you were saying, like watching them, and Twilight.
That should be the biggest takeaway about like most of these. It's very hard to get 10 movies in a whole decade. Like
yeah. And then I have Bridesmaids just because I'm a comedy queen. That's my preferred thing. I love Bridesmaids. One of the few times where an all-female cast is actually funny. And I'll be the first person to admit that. And then
purposely all-female cast.
Right.
Something that comes together naturally is
different. And then I feel like every all-female cast movie after that has tried to replicate what Bridesmaids did, and it just fails every time because it's spending too much time focused on the fact that it's an all-female cast and not just trying to be funny.
Right, and not telling the jokes.
And then my last one was Beach Bum, which we already talked about. So. All right, number one.
Jeremy, take it away. Talk about my number one, though.
Oliver's number one is Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Are you putting 1 and 2, or is it just 2?
I am going to tie them.
Now repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I am Groot.
No!
Okay. For me, it was just 2. And the main thing I wanted to say is why 2 instead of 1? Because I know there's some people that disagree with something like that.
A lot.
And the main thing is that the emotional points, like anything that you could say that you like better about Guardians 1 is fine, but the emotional high points that you can get out of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is so trumps anything else that the first movie does to me. I can't you know, it like Oliver will probably speak more to that for him, but like the way that it's just that the emotions that this gets out of me is why it's over Guardians 1. But both Guardians movies as a whole are fantastic, like hilarious, super interesting, like yeah, no, just good in almost every way.
You had Guardians. Was it your number
It was my
one?
number 3.
Okay.
I tied them as well because of the fact that they happen like one right after the other. Like it kind of makes them feel like one big story to me. So I love both of them. If I had to pick, I think I'd pick 2 over 1 as well, like Jeremy. They're just great movies. Again, like, and a common theme for me, and if you listen to anything else, I say this all the time, music and movies, putting them together, having great picks, you know, and having the music enhance the movie is so important to me when I'm watching stuff. And, you know, these movies are all about the music, and I really appreciate that. And I think that that's why they're so high for me, is because the person that's picking the music is really wanting people to feel something by putting it there. And, you know, not only enhancing the scene, but enhancing your viewing of it. And I love that. So yeah, Guardians is great. Also, I love Chris Pratt, and he is a snack and a half. So
yes. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 are tied here, although admittedly I prefer 2 to 1. The reason they are tied is because Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2 were both huge movies for me when they came out. And besides the movies, before we even get into that, just looking back at my life and where I was at when those movies came out, I just like it. You know, I have such fond memories of those summers going to see those movies, the people that I was with and who I was hanging out with and what I was doing, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the first one came out, I was really enjoying my first job. I was making my first movie, and, you know, I was really starting to appreciate film. And, you know, and it's such a rarity for me to be introduced to superheroes that I don't already know. But even beyond it being a superhero movie, it was just a cool piece of science fiction that was perfect for who I was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, every character I related to on a really deeper level. And it is still the only movie that I have been to the movies to see 7 times. I've never seen a movie in theaters more times than that.
There you go.
But then 2 comes out. And, you know, 1 I already had in my best movies of all time. But 2, like Jeremy was saying, it's, you know, people don't like it. And it's that a lot of people say it's the worst Marvel movie. Actually, a friend of ours, or he was on the show, Alex,
a ridiculous
told
statement,
me that this is not a film.
What?
We were having a discussion about it. He said, I don't like it. It's not a real movie. And I think it takes a lot of flack for being silly, you know, but at the end of the day, it's also a space opera. Of course it's silly. The main characters are a raccoon and a tree.
And a man-child, and a green woman.
Which people forget. That's what the movie is, you know? And I think what film is trying to get an emotion out of somebody and trying to have them have a real reaction to something that's not actually happening. And that's what this movie does. When it wants you to cheer and be, you know, with the characters, that's what you do. And when it wants you to be sad, it's sad. I can't get through the movie without crying. You know, and there's 2 spots that really get me. I watch the funeral for Yondu all the time, you know. And I think that it took a movie that I already loved and stepped it up to where this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's also the only film franchise that I have a tattoo inspired by.
Mm.
So, you know, for all that, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the best movie of 2010 to 2019.
Great.
And just factually.
Gotcha.
My number 1, I don't want to talk about it that long. I feel really bad for bringing it up because I feel like I bring it up every day of my life. My number 1 movie is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
When do I know I'm Spider-Man?
You won't. That's all it is, Miles. A leap of faith.
Like, what's what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger?
I have seen this movie, I think, more than I've seen any other movie, and I have not, for myself yet, worn it out, which is one of the biggest things about it for me, why I think why it ends up being one of my favorite movies of all time, not just of the past decade. This movie gets such a wide range of emotions out of me. I can think of no flaws that are the movie's fault, but that might just be me being biased. It's beautiful. I don't want to talk about it too long because we have on this channel talked about it many times. I have put it at number 1 of every list we've made so far.
It was the number 1 movie of the year 2 years in a row.
Yep. It is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I'll chime in and say, Spider-Man is my favorite fictional character of all time, and this movie is an absolute joy to watch and one of the better Spider-Man movies. It only just misses the cut on my top 10, and that's just because it's new, but I've seen it a bunch, at least 15, 16 times now, and I haven't gotten tired of it. It's my go-to plane movie. I love this movie, and it's also like, to put this much effort into a Spider-Man movie when you could have just made a run-of-the-mill superhero movie, that says something in and of itself.
I loved Spider-Verse, and I had no reason to, because I'm not a Spider-Man person, like you guys are specifically. Like, if you are on this side of the spectrum, I am probably over here somewhere. So I had no reason to like the movie as much as I did, but I loved it, and I've seen it multiple times, and yeah, I agree. Great movie. Great movie.
I think the amount that I love this movie is possibly irrational, but I can't help it. It's I don't know.
Cool.
That's it.
So I cheated for my number 1 because I couldn't decide between 2 movies. So I have 2 number 1s. Okay. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's hard. I understand.
Yeah, they're both Disney movies. They're both animated films. One is Pixar and one is Disney, Studios. So my top ones of the 2010s are Tangled.
Wait! Look out!
Whoa! You should see your faces because you look ridiculous.
And Coco.
We may have our differences, but nothing's more important than family. I'm proud we're family!
And I kept them together because I feel like in terms of the bare bones of a movie, they're very similar. They're Disney animated films, with music that progresses the plot. But Tangled has been such a big part of my life for a while now. Rapunzel is my favorite princess. I love the story. Mandy Moore does a great job as Punzi, and I think it's a really just fun version of the Rapunzel, fairy tale, and I love that. And then there's Coco, and honestly, I guess if I had to choose between the 2, I would probably choose Coco. Coco's an incredible film. There's really not much else to say about it. I mean, visually, it is so stunning to look at. And then on top of that, it tells a story that's never been told before about a culture that's not given, a lot of screen time. And it's done in a way that it's made for children, but is so captivating to any audience. And the music is wonderful, and the colors, and the moral, and the message that, your family is important, but also being true to yourself is important as well. And you can be an individual, but still love your family. And, I really like that message. And those 2 movies, there's just something about them, and I'm just such a Disney person. Obviously I was going to pick a Disney movie for my favorite movie of the 10s, and Coco and Tangled really are up there for me. I listen to the music every day. I listen to Tangled music every single day. Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't listen to a song from Tangled, and I listen to Coco a lot. And I've seen Coco, I think, almost more than any other movie that's on this list. So they're good movies, and I stand behind my number ones wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I love Coco.
Yeah. Another one of those movies that I will cry every time I watch it. Every single time.
Oh, yeah. I have never to memory cried during a movie. Coco is one of the movies that gets me the closest. Like, yeah, very emotional.
And those are the top 10 movies of the 2010s.
Yep.
For our 10th episode extravaganza.
Woohoo. And if you made it this far, good for you.
Way to go.
Yeah. I just want to say, these movies, we said it at the beginning, like, my list at least, most of these movies could be anywhere on my list.
Agreed.
Again, the number is completely arbitrary, really.
I have literally already changed the order of some of things on my list. Like, don't take, like, that's the main things. Don't take that to be the thing, and it's like, oh, it's number 6. It's just a movie that I like,
Right. If they're the best of the decade, then they're the best of the decade. It doesn't really matter where we rank them, just for the purpose of doing this show. Ranking them makes sense.
The list is always better.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Before we hop out, I do want to say we haven't forgotten about the book club picks. We just had 2 guests, and then this is the 10th episode, and this is what I want to do. And maybe in another 10 episodes, we'll do another list. But in the meantime, thanks for watching.
Thank you.
I'm Oliver the Ricketts.
I'm Brittany Spear.
I'm Jeremy Kessler.
Good riddance to you.
Good riddance to you.
Yeah.